Hello everyone. Uh, Welcome to another episode of my Oberon Helminth showcase. Today's ability that I'm going to be showcasing is Pillage. Before we get started, for anyone who's seen any of the previous videos, I have been redecorating my Oberon. Just thought I'd mention it because it is quite a big change from what it was before. I'm really liking it. That's all I'm going to say about it because that's not what this video is about. I'll continue working on it. So, like I said, today's ability that I'm going to be using is Pillage. Now, this is on my, let's show here, on my crit damage chart Oberon, so the same one I use for my Nourish build. I think that's the only build from this Oberon that I showcased. Um, so yeah, it's on the crit damage chart Oberon, but I did end up replacing one of the shards with a strength shard just to get this build to work. So it's a bit of damage loss for my Nourish build, but it makes a big difference for this build because um, that shard makes a difference between full armor removal and not full armor removal. So sort of had to be done. I can just like Tau Forge these later anyway, so not a big deal. So yeah, this build goes up to, I think it's 329% power strength. I'm not going to calculate it right now, but that's the amount of strength it goes up to. I originally want to do like a 400% power strength build because, as you can see, it also has Smite Infusion on it, but that just didn't work out very well. And plus, this build is mainly suited to using melee. My melee of choice here is Kuba Shield Egg. Which is also part of the reason why I have it on my crit damage shard Oberon instead of just another Oberon with strength shards. And yeah, so I also have high duration, so that gives Pillage good range. I don't particularly use the duration for range though, it's just like for duration. So like I have basically a long aura of armor removal rather than trying to like actually focus on removing as many enemies as possible. So like I would have added more range, but I do also like to have the extra range for not only Smite Infusion, but also just for using Smite in general. So yeah, if you were to try to make a build like this yourself, this is pretty customizable. I mean, particularly with like the narrow-minded rank. I mean, what else to mention? Oh yeah, you don't particularly need the shard if you just put Power Drift here. That's an option you can do, but I think having as much, I guess, time to actually attack is pretty valuable to me. So I like the extra casting speed here. You could also do a range, and then you could like rank this up a bit for more duration. Like I said, very customizable. But yeah, let's move on to the weapon here that I'm using, which is my Kuba Shield Egg. Yeah, this is a build particularly made to take advantage of Smite Infusion. So as you can see, I don't have any elementals on here. It's just, you know, crit, attack speed, range, and so on. Yeah, so you could, one thing I'll mention is you could put, what do you call it, Conditioned Overload here. How many hits? I think it takes two stats effects for the Conditioned Overload to be roughly equal to Prime Pressure Point, and then it takes 3 for a Conditioned Overload to be better. I didn't particularly build this for status, and just because of the sheer amount of damage that this outputs, I do expect it to generally kill in one hit. So I opted for using Prime Pressure Point instead of Conditioned Overload. But if you're building something that is like, I guess, more geared towards like really high levels, I don't know exactly how high because like that's just not quite the intention of the build. But nonetheless, if you're doing something geared towards that, you can use Conditioned Overload and have better results, or you can just use a primer. as you probably know, I don't really use primers. I'll sometimes use what I call pseudo primers, which are weapons that are primarily meant to deal damage, but like it has a complementary um, it has complementary damage types to the other weapon that I'm using. So you know, so like each weapon can kill on their own. But it's like more focused on one weapon, and they'll just complement each other. Um, but yeah, overall, it's this is one of my more customizable setups, and you know, it's customizable. It's overall quite versatile. Um, one last note is that I'm using Naramon, though it's just not really necessary. If you're using like two weapons with dexterity arcanes like I'm doing here, uh, you're probably not gonna run out of that combo duration. So I mean, use something else if you want. Like I said, one of my more customizable builds, and just what do you call it? Powerful all around. Let's see. Of course, I'm going to my usual testing zone, which is conventional survival. I guess I'm going alone. That's fine. What was I about to say? Oh yeah, so as you probably know, I like testing in conventional survival a lot, and that's mainly so I can. It's mainly to like sort of showcase like damage, which is like one of the most important things to me generally. Okay, that is loud. I hope that it's not like
Your enemies have grown fierce. Use all that you have learned.
I hope it's not like something that will interrupt the audio. I don't think it is, but I haven't really changed my audio setting. But I guess I'll find out once I'm done recording this. I was gonna say something. Oh yeah, companion doesn't really matter too. I have metal stephamora here. So yeah, what was I about to say? Oh yeah, so this is so loud for me, and like I have a new mic, and this mic doesn't have a volume slider on the mic itself. I'm used to like adjusting that. So yeah, not the thing I was planning on saying. The actual thing I was planning on saying was that I trust you a lot because you know it's just good for testing damage. As you might know, I generally build for like all my builds are meant to like sort of serve a particular purpose. Right? And so of course it would make sense that I would showcase how the builds do when trying to actually serve that purpose, right? So like if I make a build that's specifically for arbitration, which I do have, maybe that'll be my next showcase. If I'm making a build specifically for arbitration, it makes more sense for me to actually showcase some arbitrations. There are two problems with that sometimes, however. So one, sometimes the purpose is just not something that is good for this style of video that I'm doing, which is like, this is just like, I don't like really like cut anything. The second thing is, let me just my headphones here. But the second thing is that sometimes the purpose isn't like a specific mission, right? So you probably also know I like to do missions in public patching. I'm not using this build properly. I need to actually be using my ability. So as you probably also know, I like to do public matchmaking. Let's see, like do lots of matchmaking. So sometimes, well, usually I'll build like something that also like considers the general composition of like the mission, right? So if I'm doing survival, what do people often bring to survival? They'll bring you know, stuff that will kill a lot. They'll bring particularly Necros as like a top pick because he'll boost the life support stat. And so it's within my best interest to actually like build with those frames in mind, especially Necros being a particularly significant one. Alright, so I'm going for survival. I have to make sure that my build can sort of withstand the extra drain from Necros, whereas if I'm playing something like, I don't know, Interception, that's not something that is as likely to show up, so that's not something I really have to consider. Maybe for Interception maybe I have to make something that's, let's say, limbo proof or whatever. Okay, so yeah, that's sort of thing that I consider my builds for, particular missions. But I'll say like another way of like looking at it is like, what if I am bringing my friends along with me? So, well, like let's say I'm bringing along one friend, right? And so like we're discussing what we're gonna bring. So I can bring someone that's suited, that is like made to complement what my friends are bringing. Like for example, I recently did a mop jam with some of my bandmates. Well, not recently, it was a few weeks ago, but I did mop on this one alone. It wasn't a very like serious one. Like the whole idea was to like kind of just be as like tanky as possible using like healing over time. But because I know that like a lot of my family had trouble surviving, I decided to bring my 400% power strength, they're called Everlasting Ward Oberon. Cold Everlasting Ward. So they're getting like a ton of armor, like guaranteed cold proc damage reflections, just stuff that's going to really help them survive, especially. Oh goodness. Especially stuff that's going to, especially considering that there were other Oberons in that squad that we planned out. So, come on, one more enemy. Over here. What was I saying? Oh yeah, because there were other Oberons in that squad. So it was less important to me to actually like bring Phoenix in here. I didn't particularly know if anyone else was bringing Phoenix, but nonetheless, I actually figured that just boosting like effective hit points was just going to be more impactful, and so that's what I ended up doing. Oftentimes, like with my build, it's not like I'm building for a particular mission. It's like I'm building for, this sort of task, for like a certain sort of like rule or whatever. And then, I'll bring it, just based on, I'll bring it based on both like the mission and like, whether I'm doing like fully public or if I'm bringing like one or two people using a particular thing. Whether I'm trying to like carry or if I'm trying to like actually like help people to actually deal damage that they're willing to stay longer or whatever. So like, I always look for like a particular purpose, but that purpose can be like kind of complicated. Well, I wouldn't say I always like build for a particular purpose. I always build with like some like use in mind. But it's like, but sometimes it is quite generalized to the point where what do you call it? Where it's like, there isn't it would be hard to argue that there's like a specific purpose to it. So I guess that's like the more proper way of putting it. But yeah, normally I have to like concentrate a lot to actually like use my builds optimally, but I think this build should be pretty simple. Like I just keep my buffs up, I keep my flank reader up, and then I just use Pillage repeatedly. Like that's actually another thing that I want to build for. Like I don't really have builds that are like really low effort. Like there are times where I just like want to actually like talk in chat, but I'm not using a build that's actually like good for allowing me to stand still to do that. So yeah, that's an issue sometimes. I'm going to probably make a build to sort of solve that sooner. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay, I thought I killed him. I meant to actually fire my Brahma, but I thought my Sonic would actually kill that thing in one shot. Yeah, Brahma's a very nice sort of complementary weapon. So yeah, I definitely want to build what do you call it? I want to make a build that, that will allow me to like talk and chat more and stuff. Probably several builds like that because like, it just happens so often. But yeah, I guess that sort of like adds to my point about like, purposes being quite, I forgot what I said before, but like, purpose isn't like a particular mission or like necessarily like one like common, like one like generalized role. It's usually like sort of like considered like things that like you really don't like particularly need to consider, like especially if you like tend to use a wider variety of frames and stuff, but it is things that definitely like help me out a lot. So I do them. Yeah. Refresh my flame fusion. Well, yeah, build works well with just pillage, and then you just counter everything. This would be especially good when I power up my Quiver Shield Extra. They've got like 35% heat, so you can get considerably stronger than this. Hey, I think the reason why I didn't build it with stats is because I have like so much, such a big radiation damage buff. And that's another nice thing about raw damage is just like the acolytes just can't take that.
Came here in search of treasure, but only found oblivion. They are trespassers. You are not. These manifestations, they aren't
So yeah, I think I'll probably just end the video after this super cool slot. Survive this guy.
They know you're here. Prepare for sentient fighters.
Because yeah, there's nothing really else to talk about with this build. Like I was saying earlier, it's one of like sort of the better builds of mine. To try it if you're sort of interested. As you saw, I have a bunch of like shards on it, but you really don't use the shards as I showed before. Just preferably just do one like power forward strength shard, or maybe like 2 non-power forwards. But I mean, if you want just use power drift, and it'll be perfectly fine. I wonder if you can get away with using what's it called? What's that drift mod called? Coaxium drift. There we go. I wonder if you can get away with using that instead of power drift. But anyway, I've shown enough. I hope you all enjoyed. I will be working on doing more in the near future. So I'll talk to you all then. Oh goodness. You know what I mean about like about that? I mean, this is one of my tankier builds, so it's like yeah. I'll probably just die if I stood still too long, like in a sort of careless way. Alright, now I'm gonna end the video.